Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TolunaAnalytics webinar. Before we start, I want to introduce you to the webinar control panel on the right-hand portion of your screen. Here you have the ability to submit questions using the question pane located near the bottom of the control panel. Please feel free to enter your questions throughout the presentation, and we will answer them towards the end. Presenting today, we have Carol Haney, VP Group Product Marketing here at Toluna, as well as Neil Dixit, Director of Product Technology. I'm going to turn the presentation over first to Carol Haney.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carol Haney. It's very nice to meet you all. Today we're going to introduce TolunaAnalytics, specifically the new version of TolunaAnalytics that was recently released, and the very differentiating features that are part of that new release. Next slide. We're going to do a quick introduction to what TolunaAnalytics is, what those new features are. Then we're going to do a live demo, and Neil and I are going to talk through the demo together, and then we'll come back to a version of our roadmap for 2013 for TolunaAnalytics, what's coming up, a really exciting feature sets that are coming into 2013, making us the world-class leader in real-time analytics for quantitative data. Next slide. So quick introduction to TolunaAnalytics. TolunaAnalytics is the analytics tool behind your data collection survey. It is web-based. It is the easiest to use analytic tool in the market, and it allows you to view your project's data as soon as your first release comes in and after the study goes live. You're able to access 24/7. You're able to share your reports, your views, what you're interested in about the data with others, and also have any time during field and after field total access to your detailed data. You can do quite a lot of statistical analysis on your data in real time, and then after your study is complete, you can also look at your clean data as well in TolunaAnalytics and export your detailed data as well as your reports. So we'll see all of this today. We can create sophisticated filters. You can do derived variables in the same way that you would do it in sophisticated desktop statistics tools. You can create subgroups, nested banner points, new stubs. So you'll see all of that today. Next slide. Exports is something that we've really worked on this year, and we have a world-class version of exporting tabulations, charts, and graphs to PowerPoint and Excel. You are able to upload your own branded PowerPoint templates for using it with your exports. You can define all of your slides at the beginning of the project, and as your completes come in, you can run interim field reports as you're going through field, and when field closes and your clean data is imported back into TolunaAnalytics, you're able to cut your final deck. And you'll be able to do this without having to recreate that PowerPoint deck over and over. You can do it at a click of a button. So we'll see that today as well. It's real time. You are able to see your data as it's coming in field, but you also can look at a field report and see the status of your completes, incompletes, terminates, and all of those kinds of stats that available to you through TolunaAnalytics. And so you can monitor your study as well as prepare your analytics for when field close happens. This last release that we recently did of TolunaAnalytics, version 2.5, is an enormous number of features, more features than we've had in TolunaAnalytics since we've released. So I'd like to go through them. We have first derived variables. Derived variables are just like we would do in a desktop stat tool like Spss or SPSS. You can combine existing questions into a single derived question using the response items as filters, and you can run Crosstab with that new question as the stub. You can customize all of the labels, question text, response item labels, and then reset back to the original at a click of a button. So you can use your field question information and then create your analytical version of that question for export into your PowerPoint or Excel export. You can hide response items from tables and graphs, and then you can export that version of the table and graph to PowerPoint and then update it automatically as your data comes in. Now you can configure the number of decimal points shown throughout the tool, which is, once your sample, your completion size reaches a relatively large N, this actually has importance to you. You can do complex weighting, set your own weights, and then you can use those for scale questions. You can reverse your scale questions if your export needs a reversed scale. You can customize your confidence interval for significance testing, and we do significance testing for both overlap and single punch questions. A true differentiator for TolunaAnalytics. And everything that you export out of TolunaAnalytics includes the native charts, meaning that inside PowerPoint, you are able to click on the chart and get to the data behind and customize all the data elements of that chart. So labels, where the actual percentages lie in a pie chart, for example. And so we'll see all of that in the live demo that's coming up. So thank you. I'm going to hand now this presentation over to Neil Dixit, and he is going to take us through TolunaAnalytics. Thanks, Neil.
Hi, everyone. My name is Neil Dixit, and I'm the Director of Product Technology for North America for Toluna. What you're seeing now is an example of a dashboard that gets created for virtually every survey that we field around the world that gets programmed by Toluna. You can see right away that within minutes after the survey goes live, this dashboard will be created. If I scroll down, you can see that the first thing is it's a table of contents that gets created. For every question, you can see here that I have about 24 questions that was automatically created for my survey. On the right-hand side here, you can see that I have my base size. So for this one, I have 1,099. For this one, I have 343, and so on. And for every question, I can also decide to expand it and view some basic results. For my age question, you can see I can do a mouse over to see both percentages and counts. And I can also switch between pie formats, bar formats, as well as data formats for every question in my survey. For this question here, I'm going to go over to my marital status question. I'm going to switch it to bar formats, and I'm now going to add a crosstab in. A crosstab is basically giving me the ability to slice and dice my data by other variables or questions in my survey. I'm going to click on Add Cross-Tabulation, and in this case, I'm going to do a simple one, which is just cross-tabbing my question by gender. I'm going to click on Cross, and now you can see I have my marital status question broken out by gender. In this case, I can still do my totals as well as my males versus females for every answer option in this particular question. I can switch between bar formats, stacked bar formats, and data formats. Now, notice in the bottom right of my question, I have this Add to Export List button. At the top here, we have our export list, which is the ability to create either a PowerPoint or an Excel list of key findings or key questions in my survey. So as I'm viewing important questions in my survey, I can decide to add them to my export list. If I expand my gender, I'm going to click on Add to Export List. Now you can see at the top right here, I have my very first slide in my PowerPoint presentation. For this particular question, I can decide to add a comment. And then I can continue on. If I scroll over to my, sorry, go ahead, Farrell.
Sure, thanks, Neil. One of the things that I'd like to point out as Neil goes through this demo is that none of what you're seeing right now has been pre-set up. So the second that we start collecting data, we're pulling data into TolunaAnalytics, and as Neil is showing you the tool right now, this is the way it will look to you. There's no need to have a specific project manager or consultant go in and customize TolunaAnalytics to allow you to have this access and this ease of use. This is all done automatically as soon as your project is set up.
Thanks, Carol. I'm now going to add my age question to my export list. And if I scroll up, you can now see I have a second slide in here. And what I'm going to do now is change my marital status question over to a bar format and add that into my export list as well. So far, I now have 3 slides in my PowerPoint presentation. Now, as I scroll down, I'm going to go to some different question types here. The first one is a multiple select question. My multiple select question, you can see I have a number of different answer options here. And in this case, I can switch it between bar format as well as data format. I'm going to add another crosstab here. In this case, I'm going to do a crosstab by age and click on cross. And now you can see I have my total broken out by my various age groups. I'm going to take that and add to my PowerPoint presentation. At the bottom here, in slide number 21, I have a scaled question. In my scaled question, you can see I have a 5-point scale where 5 is very likely to purchase and 1 is very unlikely to purchase. We now have the ability to do what we call boxes for our scaled questions. I'm going to click on boxes, and I'm going to do top 2 and bottom 2 boxes. And you can see automatically that it figured out that 5 was my top box and 1 was my bottom box. And it did an aggregation of my very likely to plus my value of 4 to create my top 2 box score, and it then did the same thing for my bottom 2 box scores. Now let's say that you had a scenario where 1 was actually the top box and 5 was the bottom box. You could then actually just click on this reverse button to reverse your scale overall to show to reverse top and bottom box. I'm going to go back to original because this is the correct view in this case. Now in this case, I'm going to also add in a crosstab here. I'm just going to do a simple one of gender. And then I'm going to click on statistics. And you can now see that for my scaled question, I have my mean, my median, my variance, my standard deviation, and my standard error being shown for my totals, as well as my males versus my females. I can click on options to unselect ones I don't want to see. If I want to unselect standard error, variance, and median, and only show mean and standard deviation, I can do that. Then I can save that. And that will also be included in my export. So what I'm going to do in this case is switch this over to a data format and add this to my export list. Now, before I continue on with more advanced features within my questions themselves, I want to go over to the top of my project and just show some of the various options we have at the top here. The first one we have is the ability to share results. If I click on share, if you want to be able to share your results, whether it be with a client, an end client, or maybe a colleague or coworker, you can easily do that using the Share tool. First thing you do is enter a description. Sharing options. You have three main options to share here. You can share it as a fresh report, which means that the person you send it to will get a brand new fresh report. Any work you've done, they will not see. You can do a copy of the current report, which means that any work you've done already, they will be able to see. So if you've added new cross-tabulations, new filters, new weighting schemes, they will be able to see that. But from that point on, any work that you do, they will not see, and any work they do, you will not see. Or you can click on Work on Same Report, which means that essentially you're sharing the report. So any work you do, they will see, and any work they do, you will see at any given time.
I'd like to interject here quickly that when we are with TolunaAnalytics use the word report, we're actually talking about the list of variables that you see on this main screen, and including, depending on the permissions that Neil's going to walk through, any slides that have been set up. So when we talk about a report, we're not talking about just the export. We're actually talking about what you see and what you're able to do within TolunaAnalytics itself.
Thanks, Bill. And then for permissions, we have 5 different levels of permissions we can set. First, we have read, which is default. You can't turn read off, which really means that if read is selected only, that anything you've done, they will be able to see, but they will not be able to create anything new. So they will not be able to create new cross-tabulations, new significance testing, new variables, new weighting schemes, nothing. If I click on write, it's the opposite. It gives them the ability to create new cross-tabulations, new filters, new weighting schemes, turn on or off significance testing. Pretty much everything, all the functionality I've shown you within this tool goes under the write functionality. Export gives them the ability to export either raw data as well as your PowerPoint and your Excel reports. Share gives them the ability to share, basically use this portion of the tool and share with further, again, with their own colleagues or their own clients. And then Access Template Library. That is the ability to upload your own customized PowerPoint for when we do the PowerPoint export. So if you want to be able to add your own logos or your own colors, your own font sizes, your own fonts, stuff like that, all gets controlled within the Access Template Library. And just to clarify, that's for the PowerPoint only. And then, of course, we have password. If you want to password protect your reports, you can certainly do that. And then I'm going to click on Generate Link. That generates a short Toluna URL. You can then take this link and send it to whoever you want to view that report. Moving on, we now have this Analyze button. And in the Analyze button, we have 4 different main options. We have Subpopulations, we have Significance Testing, Derived Questions, and Weighting. The first one we have is Subpopulations. Now, subpopulations are used for essentially creating more advanced variables that can be used within either cross-tabulation or your banner points, as well as for filtering. So if you want to be able to filter a question down to a certain sub-segment or subpopulation of people, you can use that. You can do that. Right now, my list is empty, so I'm going to go ahead and create a few different subpopulations. First, I'm going to create a basic subpopulation. In this case, I'm going to drag over my age variable. And I'm just going to do a simple one where I'm going to say anyone who is between the ages of under 34, we'll say. And what I just did here is I selected under 18, 18 to 24, and 25 to 34. Click on Calculate, and that brought me 352 people. I'm going to save that, and now I have my first subpopulation created, anyone who's under 34 years old. We also have Advanced. Now, in Advanced is where you're going to really use to create a subpopulation that has more than one variable in it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drag over my gender as well as my age. And in gender, I'm going to first select anyone who is female, apply that. I have the ability to switch between or and. I'm going to click on and then I'm going to select anyone who is under the age of 44 years old. Apply there. I'm going to call this and you can see that brought me 309 people down here. I'm going to save that, and I have my second subpopulation created. Now, if I want to be able to create an additional one more easily, I don't want to have to create one from scratch. I'm just going to click on duplicate for my females under 45 years old. And then in my duplicate, I'm going to change that to be males. And then just change my gender to say males instead of females. And then you can see that brought me 284 people in this case. I can save that. I now have my third subpopulation created. Now, before I go over to nested, I'm going to show you categories. Categories is the ability to essentially create your own banners that can be used over and over again that might contain one or more different subpopulations in them. So I'm going to click on Create Category, and then right away you see that I have my 3 subpopulations listed here. I'm going to drag over my males under 45 years old, my females under 45 years old. I'm going to call this people under 45 years old, also known as Banner 1. I'm going to save that. I now have this one selected. So now anytime I want to run a crosstab by both males and females under 45 years old, I don't have to select these ones individually. I can just select this. And then if I wanted to, I could actually run across with all. If I clicked on this button, that would crosstab every single question in my survey with people under 45 years old, those 2 individual banner points. Lastly, I'm going to click on Nested. Nested, it gives me the ability to create a very, very quick set of crosstabs. So if I want to run, let's say, gender within marital status very, very quickly, I'm going to drag over my gender, select both of them. I'm going to then drag over my marital status, select all of them, and I'm going to call this marital status within gender. I can click on Preview, and what this will do is create 8 different banner points within my overall banner. And you can see here that I now have males, single, males, 8 males living with partner, married, divorced, and then I have the same thing for females, single, with a partner, married, and divorced. 8 new subpopulations created. Save that. And then again, if I want to run at any time for any question or for all, I can run any question against marital status within gender. I hope that makes sense. And just to show you a quick example, if I go over to my education question, I'm going to click on Data. If I add a crosstab and click on Subpopulations, you can now see that I have my 5 new subpopulations created here. If I want to run that against Banner 1, I can click Cross, and now you see I have my total, my males under 45 years old with my females under 45 years old. And I can then now, of course, if I wanted to, add this to my export list. Significance testing is next. So this is the ability to turn on or off significance testing. I'm going to click on Turn On, and now you can see this is a brand new feature. We have the ability to customize confidence levels. We can go to 80%, 85%, 90, 95, 98, and 99%. I'm going to click on 95%. We also have the ability to customize your minimum base size threshold. I'm going to change it from 150 to 30. And I'm going to say, you know what, calculate it, but just mark below that it's below 30 in the case that where it is small base sizes. And I'm going to save and apply it to every question in my survey. Now if I go down to my education question, you can see that significance testing has now been applied. I have column A of males under 45 years old, column B, females under 45 years old, and then in certain cases here, I do have significant differences here. We have high school graduates is significantly higher for females under 45 years old, and then we also have the same thing here for a postgraduate degree. I can switch that to my bar format if I want to. In bar format, you can also see significance testing is being run here, or also similarly in stat bar format, also marked here with the letter. I'm going to take this and add this to my export list.
So
we also have
testing, just a quick interjection, significance testing is often used in combination with weighting. So we have the capability now to combine sig testing with weighting.
Great, thanks, Carol. What I'm going to do now is create a very basic weight to display that example. By weighting, we can actually create a weighting scheme that's more complicated by adding numerous variables, or we can do something that's simple. And for this demonstration, I'm going to keep it simple and just add a very simple gender weight. You can see here, once I drag it over, we have two columns here. We have our observed as well as our targets. Observed, we have 48% males, 52% females. I'm going to change that to 50, 50. And you can see here now. And then I can decide to save this. And if I click on it, I can apply weighting for my entire survey here. If I go over to a question that has a crosstab on it, switch it over to data format, you can now see that we have two different base sizes here. We have our original base sizes here, so 284 and 389, and we now have our new base sizes, our weighted base sizes of 296 and 297. And you can see that being identified with the little weight button, the little weight icon right here and right here. And now every question in my survey is now applied to this 50% male, 50% female weighting scheme. I hope that makes sense. Next, we have derived questions. Now, Carol touched on this a bit earlier on. Derived questions is the ability to create your own questions using other variables in your survey. Clicking on derived questions, we already have two derived questions that have been created here. Our first one here is gender with age. If I click on edit, you can see that I've already created this. And we have four answer options here. We've created males 18 to 44, males 45 plus, females 18 to 44, and females 45 plus. For each one, all we really did is we dragged them over to get that. So if I click on edit here, I've selected males, and I've selected anyone 18 to 44. Below this, we have males 18 to 44 as well. Sorry, males 45 plus, and then we have the same thing for females right there. If I want to create a new one, I would just drag it over below it here for a new answer option. We have the same thing here for our soft drinks, ranked number 1. So in this case, this is actually a grid question that we dragged over. In this case, we have for Coca-Cola, I'm just going to expand that here, and you can see Coca-Cola, anyone who ranked Coca-Cola as a 1. Same thing here for anyone who ranked Pepsi as a 1. Oops. and so on and so on. We have that for every single answer option in this particular question.
And showing this is a really powerful capability, because what this is doing is allowing multiple questions to be combined together, or a single question or a single response of a question combined together to create a stub that then can be cross-tabbed with either original questions that were asked in your questionnaire, or new banner points that you've created. So it's extremely powerful. So derived questions can be crossed with brand new banner points. This is truly a differentiator for TolunaAnalytics. This capability is not available within any other type of online field reporting tool.
Thanks, Carol. Now at the bottom here, you can see I have my 2 new questions created, my gender with age, my 4 new answer options. Again, I can switch between data format, bar format, and then I have the same thing here for our soft drinks. And we've already created a crosstab in this case with males versus females. And I can then decide to take this, maybe switch it to SAT-bar format, and add that to my export list. Now, I now have 7 slides in my export list. I'm going to click, at this point, I'm going to decide to export this. As I expand it, you can see all my 7 slides. My first one, I decide to add a comment. And I can either export them into Excel or PowerPoint formats. Or actually, and for either one of them, you can switch between Excel or PowerPoint version 2003 or 2010. I'm going to click on 2010 format, click on Export. And that generally takes a few seconds to create that presentation. You can continue working while it's created. Is the great thing. It's a background process. As I open this, you can now see that I have a number of different slides that have been automatically created. First slide is an overview. Next one, I have my gender question that shows both in table formats with my percents and my counts, as well as in my chart format. As Carol mentioned, this is now native PowerPoint objects. This is great. As I click on this, I can actually decide to double click or decide to edit my data. And you can see that it brings me to my actual data that sits behind my presentation here. So if I need to change this, let's just say you can see that automatically will update in my presentation to guys and girls. Similarly, if I need to change my presentation to have whatever new colors or new schemes or anything like that, I can easily do that by applying new templates. And you can see my colors that got updated automatically within my templates. Or I can just change my my series tabs if I want to. If I want this to be a bar format instead, I can easily do that. Moving on, you can see I have my age question here. I have my marital status question. I have my marital status also. I have my chart for it. I have my question about purchase interest. You can see also that when the table is too big, it will automatically put the remaining portions of the table onto the next slide so as not to overcrowd your slides. We have, I'm just going to scroll down past this question. And you can also see that for the questions where I activated significance testing, you can see that it is showing those within my presentation as well, right here as well. Hope that makes sense to everyone. Now, what I'm going to do is continue on at the top here. We also have the ability to export data, your respondent data. So I'm going to click on respondent data here, and this gives me the ability to export my raw data for this particular, if I enter my email address here, you can see here that it will automatically send me an email that shows me the raw data for this particular survey.
What I love about this feature is that Neil only put himself on the email, but you can put multiple folks. You don't have to keep going back in over and over again. It's smart. You can put multiple email addresses on that selection criteria for that dialog box, and it will send it to multiple, every email that you've put on that list.
We now have my raw data that's been exported. And for my raw data, you can see that it creates 4 different files here. The first 2 are your definition files, or your layout files. And the next 2 are your actual raw data files. Now, for simplicity purposes, we did create them in Excel. So if I click on my closed question here, you can see that it's actually individual columns within Excel columns here. Now, the next step that's coming next year, I believe, Carol, is the ability to take this exact format, but also embed it into a pure ASCII format, which will be completely text-based. In the meantime,
for this format today, you can bring this, since we give you the layouts, the def close, the definition files. Since we give you those layouts, you can bring those straight into Excel. I mean, straight into SPSS or SAS, and view your data that way, since both of those statistical packages read in Excel data at this point. But we're also coming up, we'll have ASCII as well as an SPSS save file. That's on the agenda for 2013. ASCII file at the end of Q1 and SPSS save file at the end of Q2.
And for those of you who are already existing clients of Toluna, this layout file that I'm opening right now should look quite familiar, because it is a standard layout format that we create for virtually all of our surveys globally. And then, of course, we have the same thing for open-ended questions here. And again, we have our layout file that gets created for open-ended questions here too.
We split open-ends and the fixed data into 2 files, because generally input from our clients is that those are analyzed in separate ways.
We also have the ability to export our data into Excel. So notice here that as I mentioned before, we have about 24 different questions being shown here. So what I'm going to do is just take this and export that into Excel. And that will export every question that shows here essentially into a top-line format. And it's a very quick way of getting all your results into one simple export. Of course, it creates a summary slide. At the bottom here, I can go to my next tab, which is all my tables on one slide individually. If I scroll down here, you can see I have my gender, my age, marital status, and so on for every question in my survey. And you can see that weighting is applied, as well as significance testing is applied for every question that I exported here. On the slides where I did apply crosstabs, so you can see I have my question here, my multiple select question. I already had a crosstab applied by weight, or sorry, by age, and I have that here as well. And then moving on, I have every question individually on individual tabs here at the bottom. So you can see I have my age 1, marital status with my charts, children, et cetera, for every question in my survey. Again, these are native Excel objects, so they're not images. They are editable, and you can, again, switch whatever colors you need to within your Excel exports. If I go to my scaled question here, just to find that, you can see that for my scaled question here, I have my mean and standard deviation also being shown here, broken out by males versus females. I can do the same thing for my PowerPoint presentation if I want to. I'm not going to get into that right now. We also have statistics options. I'm going to click on that. And this gives me an ability to customize my entire report or my entire user interface with different options. First thing I have is the ability to turn on or off my boxes. So in my scaled question, I showed you guys the top 2 and bottom 2 box. I can turn that on or off for every question in my survey that might have a scale on it. I have my matrix questions where I can actually reverse my stubs and my banner points for every grid question in my survey very easily by clicking on main view versus transpose view. We can customize the number of digit settings for our percentages as well as for our means and standard deviation, etc., by clicking either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. For our scale questions, we can decide to show our prefixes, meaning on a 5-point scale, if we had 5 being top box and 1 being bottom box, I can decide to show or hide the 5 and the 1. I can also decide to reverse those numbers, or I can even just decide to reverse the labels themselves and forget about the prefixes. And then for my entire report, I can also decide to show both percentages and counts, or only percentages, or only counts. At the top here, we also have some shortcuts. I have a shortcut to subpopulations, a shortcut to filters, to derived questions, and to weighting. And then we also have our fieldwork reports. If I click here, this gives me the ability to monitor field real-time from within TolunaAnalytics. This is a new report. You can see here, in my demonstration environment, this doesn't have too much detail, but it does show you the number of people who started, your number of incompletes, your number of completes, your quota fulls, terminates, and then, of course, your incidents, your net effective incidents. And you can export this to both PowerPoint and to Excel as well. And this does get dynamically updated in real time. Again, as soon as you go into field, you can come and see this fieldwork report. And it's quite accurate, and it's been getting used quite often as once this has been rolled out. And I believe that's it. Did I miss anything, Carol?
No, I think, oh, you know what? We didn't, we talked about it, but we didn't look deeply at the PowerPoint template export.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks,
So,
Neil.
I was reminded me, it's good. So here we have the PowerPoint template here. Notice that right now, for this particular survey, in my export, it was a standardized Toluna template that got used. Now, if I want to upload my own, I can do that very easily. I'm going to open up my PowerPoint template that I created before this presentation. And I just created a generic one. You can see that I put generic company logo here. I also put my own background here. And then on my next slide, I actually have my customized levels defined. So the first one, I kept it pretty much the same. I kept it black and in a 19-point font. This one I actually changed the size a little bit and the colors. And then same thing for my level 3, my level 4, and that's my footer and stuff there as well. Now to get that, what I did actually was you can click on template examples, and if you click on those, it allows you to download the template examples that you can then modify. And that's how I got these here. I just took that, modified it, put my own logo in, put my own colors in, etc. Now, if I want to go back in and now upload that, I can do that very easily.
So while Neil's doing that, I'd like to go through how all these features got built into TolunaAnalytics and how we decided what features would be most helpful to the clients. We listened to you, our clients, and we brought our clients into Toluna in a kind of a makeshift lab, and we watched how they used stat tools, what they were wanting to do with their data, and how they were delivering it to their internal clients as well as their external clients. And based on that information, we went back to TolunaAnalytics And we tried to build all of those features in without the complexity of the stat tool coding that's required in our stat tools.
There we go.
Over to you, Neil.
Yep. So now I'm going to just, I can upload my PowerPoint. I'm going to enter my name of the PowerPoint. Click on Upload. And you can now see that my template uploaded successfully. I can decide to use it at the top here. Click on Done. And now, if I was to run my export list again, you will now see that my PowerPoint export shows up with my new colors on it. You just give it a second here. Let's try that again. I think it's because I had it open already.
Yeah, I think there were two different templates selected.
Oh, were there?
Mm-hmm.
Go to, there you go. Now you can see that my presentation now has my logo on it as well as my own colors on it, et cetera, as well. I think I might have done something wrong there because I have my level 1 showing up here as well. I probably did something wrong in that export, so I'll have to review that afterwards. But I think you guys get the idea of what we were doing there. And then lastly, actually, before I forget, I wanted to just quickly show some of the options we have here. My grid question here, I wanted to quickly show the ability to do edit content. So if I want to go in and change my answer options or my text for my survey, I can do that. So let's say I want to change and you can see also I have my answer options here. I want to change that to Chevy, Dodge, and so on and so on. And let's say I wanted to get rid of my scales here as well. You also have a spell checker here that can automatically be invoked for everything I type in here. I can then click on Save. And you can now see that my answer options have been changed. I have Chevy here. I have Chrysler Dodge here now as well. And I believe that is, lastly, we also have the ability to also show and hide rows. So I'm going to click on Show Hide Rows, and then I can decide to hide my individual answer options. Let's say I didn't care about Ford, and I didn't care about Chevy. I can decide to hide those, save it, and now in my summary you can see that both Ford and Chevy have been hidden here. I can then decide to export that in my PowerPoint or in my Excel. And then I can also switch between my percentages and counts. I can only show percentages and only show counts if I want to, and export that. And now I believe that that's it.
Thank you, Neil. So that's TolunaAnalytics today. It's amazing number of features in a field and stats tool for your data collection. So we'd like to give you a sneak peek on what's coming in 2013. In our Q1 release, we'll have, at the beginning of Q1, we'll have full support for continuous and multi-wave trackers. And this includes creating time series analysis. So you'll be able to do wave-on-wave comparisons and more. So you'll be able to select different date ranges and compare the results from one to the other. You'll be able to, throughout 2013, the data the raw export of data that we talked about in the new formats of SPSS save file and ASCII file. You'll be able to import data from another source so that even if the data collection is not done by TolunaAnalytics, you'll be able to import that data and use TolunaAnalytics as a stat tool. You'll have more control over that user experience. And then the ability to upload externally calculated weights, and you would use this primarily at the end of field when you would know your total number of completes. But you would be able to upload externally calculated weights, and you could be able to relate those at the respondent level, or be able to set the percentages based on, for example, a census balance rep. By the end of 2013, our goal is for TolunaAnalytics to be the world-class tracking real-time analytics tool that's offered anywhere. And your feedback as clients is what is helping us build this tool. Next slide. So for tracker support, it's, again, multi-wave and continuous studies. You'll have the same functionality that you saw today with additional features. You'll have standard time slices. You'll be able to create custom time slices. You can compare one wave against another, or divide up a wave into multiple time slices. You'll be able to aggregate your data based on time. And you'll be able to select different versions of the questionnaires. We know trackers, questionnaires change over time, changes seasonally, and so you'll be able to manage to that piece. And then for previous waves data, you'll be able to import that external data and then be able to compare from your historical data all the way up to the data that's being collected today. Next slide. So we have run up. We have about 7 minutes, and we're going to turn this back over to you, Jen, for any questions that have come in while we were showing the demo.
Great. Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Neil, for taking us through the live demo. We've had several questions come in, and I think some of them have been answered throughout the presentation, but we'll go through and try to get to everybody. The first question, is there a way to look at an unduplicated number of responses across several answer choices? For example, a distinct number of people that select at least one of the following.
I'm not sure I understand the question, to be honest.
I'm trying to parse it, too. If the person could privately send your email address to Jen, we will give you a call afterwards and see if we can tease out what you're trying to do. With derived questions, actually, we are able to select. Let's say somebody selects, does a multi-punch, you know, what are the top 3 from a list of 8 presents that you're going to buy for your family this Christmas? I just made that question up. Poorly written question. You are able to go in with derived questions and select their top question. So let's, if you could pass in your email address, we'll be able to talk to you further about it.
Thank you. The next question is, do you have the ability to re-upload clean data? So after downloading raw data and finding that certain respondents need to be deleted, can that be re-uploaded?
Yes. So what we have is, for every one of these projects that we work on, we have a project manager that works on our side directly with the client. So when in both scenarios, we actually have our data processing team who also goes in and essentially looks and makes sure that every respondent in there is clean. And then they have the ability to clean out certain respondents or whichever respondents are necessary to be removed. Similarly, if the client goes in and decides that respondent 101 and 506 need to be removed, it's a matter of just simply emailing or contacting the project manager and asking them to remove them, and then they will be removed very, very quickly and for that client.
Great, thank you. The next question, I think this was, you just answered this in the last couple of slides, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Is it possible for tracking studies to use the same database to add data for new waves of data collection so that historical waves are available for analysis.
Yes, that's not, like I said, the tracker functionality is coming Q1 2013. The historical import of historical data will be available end of Q2.
Great. Another question, in the new releases, when will we be able to export SPSS files?
That is, we've surveyed our clients, and we have heard that an ASCII file is wanted over an SPSS save file. So we're going to do the ASCII file first, and then the SPSS save file second. Right now, however, you can bring your Excel data into SPSS and there's a simple script that we can give you that will write out a, based on your layout file, it'll import it, and it'll import all the labels and all of your metadata. And that's available today. Just ask your PM for it.
Okay, one more question. Can you predefine the colors to be used in the charts and custom PowerPoint templates? For example, every time data relates to Coca-Cola, red is used versus blue for Pepsi.
Not yet. That is coming in future for the PowerPoints, but current, and I think that's coming next year. Carol, correct me if I'm wrong. But, but for now, it is standard colors that do get used for the charts themselves. Of course, for the layout of the PowerPoint, as I showed, that can be completely customized. That includes the background, the font colors, stuff like that. But the charts themselves are standard as of right now.
Great. It looks like that's all the questions, unless anyone has anything else they want to ask. That's it. Well, thank you, Carol and Neil, again for a great presentation, and we appreciate it. Have a good day, everyone.
Take care.